Picture this. You go to sleep on Sunday in one AI world, and by Wednesday, you wake up in a completely different one. In just 72 hours, OpenAI, DeepSeek, Mistral, Amazon, Runway, and Kling all dropped major updates that hit models, hardware, and agents at the same time. It was not a slow drip of announcements. It felt like a synchronized detonation that quietly reset the entire race. This week was not just about new chatbots. It was about assistants that remember you, coders that work for days without sleep, and video models that look dangerously close to real cinema. And buried inside all that hype is a quiet shift that will decide who owns the next decade of software, jobs, and creativity. In a minute, you will see why this was the week the AI race truly flipped into a higher gear. Let us start with the big picture. Until now, you could think of AI progress as happening in big yearly jumps like major phone releases. But this week proved something different. Labs are no longer waiting to bundle everything into one giant frontier model launch. They are shipping partial upgrades the moment they are ready, from memory systems to new attention tricks to autonomous agents. The cadence just compressed from quarters to days. Here is why that matters to you. The new baseline is no longer a smart autocomplete in your browser. It is an assistant that remembers your preferences, agents that behave like junior engineers, and video tools that feel like a tiny film studio. When iteration happens this fast, the tools on your desk in 6 months may look nothing like what you are using today. And if you ignore that, the people who do not ignore it will quietly pass you. OpenAI made the quietest move with the loudest long-term impact. GPT 5.2 arrived like a point release, not a victory parade. No big live stream, no cinematic demo, just a model that reasons a bit better, codes a bit cleaner, and handles more languages, all while staying roughly as fast as GPT 5.1. On paper, it is single-digit percentage gains on math, logic games, and long answers. But those tiny bumps compound month after month. The real twist is hidden inside ChatGPT itself. OpenAI started testing something called memory search, and this is where things get personal. Instead of treating every chat like a fresh goldfish moment, ChatGPT now builds a private memory store of your interactions and queries it like a tiny vector database. It can remember that you prefer TypeScript over Python, that your startup pitch is about fintech, or that your kid has a peanut allergy, and quietly adapt to you over weeks. Technically, this is retrieval augmented personalization at massive scale. ChatGPT decides what to store, like your preferences, ongoing projects, or writing style, and only pulls those snippets into context when they are relevant. For you, that means fewer moments of remind me what we were doing, and more moments where it feels like a colleague who has been on the project for months. But here is the part nobody is talking about. Once your workflows and habits live in that memory, leaving gets very hard. OpenAI is zigging while everyone else zags. DeepSeek, Anthropic, Google, and Mistral are chasing benchmark crowns with bigger and bigger models. OpenAI is quietly optimizing stickiness and daily utility. A slightly better model plus a dramatically better memory loop is much harder to abandon than a marginally smarter competitor with amnesia. In a week full of flashy demos, OpenAI's most important move might be the one that makes you forget how to leave. Now, DeepSeek. This was not just another model drop, it was a direct shot at the belief that only giant, dense transformers win. DeepSeek v3.2 posts GPT-5 class scores on hard math and coding tasks, but runs on what looks like a mid-range compute budget. On competition-style problems, it lands within striking distance of GPT 5.2 and Gemini 3 Pro, sometimes even edging ahead on tight puzzle-like tasks. The secret weapon is DeepSeek Sparse Attention, or DSA. Instead of attending to every single token in a long context, the model learns to focus only on the few tokens that matter, pushing quadratic cost closer to linear. Paired with multi-head latent attention, it keeps a global view while skipping dead weight. The result is a model that can juggle multi-file code bases, long proofs, and 100-page documents without melting down as context grows. This changes who can afford frontier reasoning. Then there is DeepSeek v3.2 Speciala, tuned like a gold medal Olympiad contestant. On synthetic math, advanced geometry, and competition-grade coding, it targets human champion-level performance under time pressure while still keeping that sparse efficiency. Suddenly, research-grade AI is not just a nine-figure training run locked inside a hyperscaler. It starts to look like something a lab, a hedge fund, or even a serious startup could rent by the hour. While that is happening, Europe is staging its own rebellion. Mistral 3 landed as a full open-weight family under the permissive Apache 2.0 license, and that is a political statement as much as a technical one. For policymakers in Brussels, Paris, and Berlin obsessed with digital autonomy, this is a flag in the ground, a European-hosted alternative to US and Chinese closed stacks. And Apache 2.0 means enterprises can fine-tune, self-host, and even resell without legal traps. Mistral leans hard into an open ecosystem play. You get downloadable weights on Hugging Face, reference inference code, and examples for Kubernetes, VLLM, and Triton. Banks, telcos, and governments can build on-prem assistants or code copilots without sending every token through a US data center. The big question is scale. Mistral does not have the billions in GPU budget that OpenAI or Google have. But open weights compound because hundreds of teams can specialize them in parallel. Amazon, meanwhile, is quietly fighting a different war. Instead of polishing chat windows, it is wiring AI deep into the software factory. At the center is Kiro, a long-running coding agent that behaves less like a chatbot and more like a junior engineer on salary. You attach it to a massive microservices repo and ask for a multi-day refactor like migrating from REST to gRPC, and it just gets to work. Kiro's superpower is persistence. It clones and indexes the repo, proposes a cross-service plan, edits code, runs tests, opens pull requests, and then watches continuous integration to fix failing suites. That loop can run for hours or days, surviving IDE restarts and developer handoffs. A week-long debugging slog turns into assigning a ticket to an AI that never gets tired of rerunning the same flaky test. This changes how software teams are staffed. All of this rides on Amazon's new Trainium 3 chips, its answer to NVIDIA H100 class hardware. Because Amazon owns the silicon, the cloud, and the agent runtime, Kiro is not just a product. It is a showcase for an entire AWS native ecosystem. The pitch is simple. Run frontier-class coding agents close to your repos and production environments with cheaper tokens and faster loops. If Amazon wins that layer, it locks in the next decade of cloud-native development. On the creative side, the AI box office is heating up. Runway's Gen 4.5 and Kuaishou's Kling 3.x are turning generative video into a real duel. Runway is chasing cinematic realism, longer shots, stable camera moves, consistent lighting, and characters that hold their faces and outfits for 10 or 12 seconds. You can literally ask for golden hour with a handheld camera, and it looks like it came off a real lens and light kit. Kling answers with speed and style tuned for TikTok and Douyin culture. Think hyper-saturated colors, anime-inspired motion, and wild camera whips that still render cleanly at high resolution and high frame rates. Early demos show one pass generation of video plus synced audio from dialogue to ambient sound and music. For independent creators, this is like getting a tiny studio that can spit out short films on demand. And that raises a hard question. What happens to traditional production work? Step back for a second and look at the new map. OpenAI is betting on memory and stickiness. DeepSeek is proving that smarter architectures can rival frontier models on a budget. Mistral is turning open weights into a sovereignty play. Amazon is fusing agents with its own hardware. Runway and Kling are fighting over the future of video. The race is no longer just who has the biggest model. So what does this actually mean for you right now? If you are a developer, it means coding agents that can own entire refactors, not just autocomplete a function. If you are a founder or manager, it means assistants that remember projects and preferences across months, turning into real teammates. If you are a creator, it means video tools that can make you look like a studio with almost no budget. The people who learn to orchestrate these systems will move faster than those who do not. The bigger shift is psychological. We are moving from AI as a clever tool you occasionally open to AI as infrastructure that quietly runs underneath everything you do. Your code base, your documents, your designs, your personal preferences, all woven into agents and memory systems. That brings huge upside, but also lock in privacy questions and new power centers. The question is not, can they do it? They already can. The question is, what rules are we about to live under? If you want to stay ahead, here is the practical playbook. First, pick one assistant with memory and actually live in it for a month. Feel what persistent context does to your workflow. Second, try a coding agent like Kiro style tools or DeepSeek powered copilots on a real project, not just toy snippets. Third, experiment with video, even if you are not a filmmaker, because those skills will be basic literacy for marketing and storytelling. This week was not a one-off spike. It was the start of a new cadence where major shifts land every few days instead of every few quarters. The acceleration is just beginning, and the gap between people who ride it and people who ignore it will only get wider. If you want deep dives on specific players like DeepSeek, Mistral, or Amazon Kiro, tell me which one in the comments. And make sure you subscribe, because the next